Welcome to the Rocky Road Podcast, brought to you by Rockbusters, with your host, Dennis Wager. Dennis is a best-selling author and an expert in demolition, rock, and concrete breaking, as well as a professional blaster. He is also president of Rockbusters Incorporated, along with his son, Brian. On the podcast, you'll hear exciting stories of how these challenge types of rock and concrete jobs are done. You'll learn about the uses of expanding grout and explosive devices. But furthermore, you'll hear about some of the hurdles and struggles entrepreneurs and business owners have had along the way, how they got started, and how they broke through the obstacles and found the path to success. Along with that, some insight for young people and people wanting to get into the industry. So listen in. I hope you enjoy the show. Now, here is Dennis Wager.
Hey there, everybody. Welcome to the show. Today, I'd like to introduce my guest, Douglas Madhlangobe. He is from South Africa and happens to do the same type of rock breaking work that we do here. So I wanted to bring him on as our guest and have a chat. Welcome to the show, Douglas.
Thank you for inviting me on your show, Dennis.
Awesome. Yeah, that's happy to have you here. So you're from Pretoria in South Africa. I think that's in Dengava?
Gauteng province.
Gauteng province? Yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
I knew I would mess that up, but give it a shot.
It's all right.
Anyway, tell us a bit about yourself, how you got started in this business, what you do, and all that.
Well, I'm Douglas. I'm an entrepreneur. I start businesses and then I let them run on their own. Right now, I'm concentrating on We Break It. So what we do is that we drill rocks, we apply chemical, and then we blast. And how it all started, it's like I was working for a guy who had a tool hire company, right?
Okay.
So we were hiring out tools almost every day, but then our most frequently hired machine was the jackhammer.
Okay.
So what would happen is people would hire the jackhammer, and then they would go and try to break a rock with it. So like it was costing us a little bit too much with the repairs. So every time like someone would come through, they hire a jackhammer, and then the next day we have to fix it.
Okay.
So then we discovered that there was a problem here because obviously something was going wrong on site and people didn't have the knowledge of how to break rocks. So now I started following the jackhammer, and then every time I'd get to a site, I'd see them trying to break a rock and I'd stop them. Then I started researching to kind of come up with a solution on how we can solve this problem, because obviously people were having problems.
Cool. So when you say jackhammer, do you mean like a backhoe or excavator with a breaker on it? Is that what you're
Actually,
referring to?
an electric jackhammer.
Oh, electric jackhammer. So a handheld
Yes.
jackhammer.
Handheld
Okay.
jackhammer. Something you'd use for concrete.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. So
Yeah, that's
now
not very
I did
effective,
my
yeah.
research, and I think I was on YouTube, and then I started learning from Dave.
Okay. Dave
Yes.
Pratt.
So
Yeah.
I think I studied Dave's videos a lot because I really couldn't get around how he was doing it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. So what was the first project you took on?
Okay, the first project I took on was at North Cliff. It's a place in Joburg.
Okay.
So there was a client who needed to extend their back rooms. And then they had a lot of rock in there. I think we undercoated that job.
Yeah. That's always the ones you
And
learn
we-
from, right? We've done
we
that too.
undercoated it.
Yeah.
It was terrible.
Yeah, we've done that too on the blasting
bring
jobs
back
where we
some
got
memories.
started. So what's a typical
Yeah.
job look like for you?
Basically, it's clients who have rocks that they need removed to do a renovation. Mostly, if it's big companies, they are trenching for sewer or storm drains.
Yeah.
So, like, they can't blast in the areas that we have to come in. and help them out.
Okay.
Yeah.
So most of your work you use with expanding grout or rock breaking chemical?
Yes, that's what I do. I think I didn't actually learn how to blast because I wanted to perfect the way that I use my chemical.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
And how is it working for you?
It's been going great, eh? I've been learning from my mistakes, eh? I
Yeah,
make a
we
lot
all
of
do.
mistakes.
We all do.
When we started, we used to make a lot of mistakes. I think the first mistake we would make is underpricing.
Yeah.
So remember the job I was telling you in Northcliffe? We did that job for almost 6 days,
Yeah.
right? And we had quoted for 1 day.
Oh my God.
So we did the drilling and then we applied chemical. But
Yeah.
then the client couldn't move the rocks from the back of the yard. They needed to make the rocks a little bit smaller.
Yeah.
So by that time, I didn't even have knowledge of a splitter,
Okay.
boulder buster, which means we
Yeah.
had to come back and drill again. And it was
Yeah.
just terrible on us. It's like we started spending money on this client's rock, and
We've had
there was
that too.
nothing he could do.
Yeah, you're not alone in that. And like one thing I'll share is that we charge by the hour. And what we do here is we like to use the technology of today. We typically have people text us or email us pictures. And then based on what we see in the pictures, we can give them an estimate based on kind of a range, or a best guess of what we think it's going to take. So at least they have an idea of what to expect. But the actual charges are based by the hour. And we have different rates for whether we use grout or we use a splitter or we use one guy or two guys or three guys or four guys. Sometimes we'll double up our crews, but it's still based per guy, like how many guys per hour. And that rate includes the truck, the air compressor, the drills, jackhammers, etc. So you've got a group rate. So if I'm going to get two guys, it's this much per hour. And we think it's going to be like half a day to a day or 1 to 3 days, kind of give them an idea, right? And it's kind of protected us. We have taken on jobs like you where we price it. And it's very hard to predict with rock how it's going to go. Like sometimes you'll make good money. Sometimes you'll lose your butt, It's kind of like that. So we've all been there. The first blasting job I took on in West Van, it was, it looked like pretty straightforward. It was not. And the same thing, we were there for way longer than we thought. The only thing that saved me there was we had intended originally to use the rock on site to build retaining walls with. And then it just got to be too tight of area to work in, and the excavator couldn't swing around and operate, properly. So it turned out that we were able to say, hey, it's just not enough workspace. We need to haul some rock away. And then we were able to charge an extra $500 per load to haul the rock away. So we actually made some good money there to make up for the money that we lost on the blasting.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, that's kind of the live and learn stuff, right? We always prefer to go by the hour because it's safer for us. It's you give the client, an idea of a range of what they're looking at, so they're not surprised. Because I have the mindset of I don't want anybody to feel like they're writing a blank check and they don't know what they're going to pay. We want to explain things to them. That's why we make videos and we tell them what we see in the pictures. And some clients will actually, ask us, like today we had one client call and they have 10 boulders that they want to split. And they said some of them are the size of a smart car. And they asked if we'd mind coming out to the site to actually look. So I said, sure, no problem. So we're going to go out there and we'll send somebody to take walk around the site and take an estimate.
All right.
It's kind of, it's kind of like that.
So this thing has been working for you of charging for hours.
Yeah, it has. Because you can't really lose, like the reason is because just like you said with the job there where the rock was in the backyard, we had a job in California that we just finished and it was a huge rock in the person's front yard and it was kind of like it dropped out of the sky. It is just probably 6-7 feet high right in the front yard. and it was the only house in the cul-de-sac that had a huge rock like this. And the customer wanted it broken down small enough so that they can load it into a bin or a trailer and haul it away. So as you're learning, it takes way longer to break the rocks down smaller and smaller. The smaller you got to break the pieces, the longer it takes.
Yeah, that's true. I think the biggest challenge that we have is trying to break a rock a little bit smaller because they can't bring machinery into the yard. You
Yeah,
can't fit in an excavator. You can't fit in a TLB. So it becomes more difficult.
yeah,
Whereas in jobs that are on sites where they have huge machineries, you can tend to finish that project in time and move on. And that's a good
yeah,
profit.
exactly. And I was having a good conversation with another client today. Like, it really matters if they have, uh, say a 17 or a 35 size excavator versus a 300 size excavator. 300, you just want to break the rocks into, say, 3-foot size pieces so that machine can load it into a dump truck. Whereas the small mini excavator, you got to break the rocks that much smaller. So that's really the nice thing about charging by the hours, that we can say, hey, you just tell us what you want done. We'll work as long as you want us to. And you just say, hey, when that's enough or that's small enough, we're good. Just sign our bill and we're finished, right?
All right.
It leaves the flexibility in it so that they can get what they want.
I guess as much as we have to protect clients from, overspending, we also have to protect ourselves from not using our own money to break
Yeah,
someone's rock.
absolutely.
This is something I always explain to clients. So, for example, you give a client a quotation, they want to complain about, the amounts are not making sense. I didn't expect it to be this much.
Yeah,
How much do you expect a rock to be? Like it's a problem that you have for 2 weeks, 3 weeks.
yeah. And
You
rock,
haven't been able to
yeah,
build your house because of a rock. And
right. And
then I'm
rock is,
telling you that in two
yeah,
days I can remove that rock. But still they have a problem with the pricing. So I always
yeah,
explain to them, you've had 2 weeks with this rock. And with my experience, I'm going to make things easier for you. Number one, I'm not going to call a packer to just hit a rock that's not going to break.
yeah.
I'm going
That's
to
right.
get
And
my guys to drill on the rock,
yeah,
and then it can be removed off site, and then you can build your beautiful house.
yeah. And as you know, like, there's different hardnesses of rocks. Some might have cracks in it, some might not, and it's really hard to predict how long it's going to take, right? That's why
Yeah,
we
it's
like
true.
to give a range. Like, some, we will say it could be this much or this long, but it could be, that long. And you
Okay,
just,
how I price? I look at the scope of work. So, for example, if I have 50 rocks on the side,
yeah,
let's say big boulders,
yeah,
the size of a smart car, like you were saying,
yeah,
I know that would take me 3 days of my guys drilling because I have 3 hoses, 3 rock drills on a CFM 400 compressor, Atlas Corp.
yeah,
So they'll work from morning until evening, probably 8 hours of work. And I know by the end of the day, they would have taken down maybe 25 of those rocks. And
yeah,
that's if we are drilling to get them removed by a big excavator or
yeah,
a TLB.
right.
And then that's easier. So now what I do is I look at the scope of work, and then I look at the days that I would take, my expenses. So most of the time we don't even work in Gauteng. We work out of the province. We have to travel most of the time. So I have to make sure that bed and breakfast is booked.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
Yes.
exactly.
So my guys, when they come back from work, they can take a shower, they can have a proper meal, and
Yeah.
sleep properly. You
Yeah, you were
understand?
saying
Also,
too about the northern part of your country where you've got some snakes and cobras even. So I mean, I don't even know how you would work around that cobra.
you can't camp. You can't camp in that area. It will be
Yeah,
very difficult to camp in that area. And the weathers in the Northern Cape are very extreme. So it gets very cold, it gets very dry, and very
Yeah.
hot. In a matter of seconds, it just changes.
How do you guys work in that?
Basically, what you do is that you just have to get water and have
Okay.
people taking water breaks all the time. And then I don't get one person to work on a machine for a long time because it gets
Yeah.
hot.
Yeah.
So they always an extra person to change
Yeah.
and
Switch. Yeah.
use the rock drill.
That's a good idea. We do that too
I think
sometimes in the summer.
I found it more effective to have just like extra two guys when you have
Yeah.
three rock drills. So let's
I
say you
do
have three
too.
rock drills,
Yeah. Yeah. I do too.
you get two extra guys.
Yeah. We also have 400 CFM compressors, and it makes a big difference. Then you can run 3 drills. And sometimes we'll put 2 out together and run 2 crews with 3 drills each. We can get a lot of production. But we also have these Rock Demon air splitters, which are really brilliant tools. So anything that's about 1.5 meters or smaller, we split those really fast with our Rock Demons.
I
So
think for me, how I look at it is if a client can pay for the fuel, we'll use breakers and splitters.
yeah,
But if they looking to save costs, we just use chemical.
okay, okay,
Yeah. That's how I look at it. So for example, you have some clients who really want their job done instantly.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
we
That's the
use
only
the
thing with the
breakers for
grout is
that.
you gotta wait for it to break. Where the splitters, you
Yeah.
get instant results. The same with blasting, you get instant results. But what we're finding is, and I don't know what it's like in South Africa, but here in North America, like a lot of the urban areas are so restrictive. You've got to have a lot of insurance. You've got regulations for transportation and storage. Most of like the dynamite and explosives are cheap, but the cost associated with the work is very, very expensive. And also, you have to do what they call pre-blast surveys, like anytime you're within a certain radius of your blast area. And sometimes it's 50 meters, but sometimes like in like San Bernardino and San Diego areas, it can be 1,200 feet. So you're going to spend thousands and thousands of dollars before you even hire a blaster. And that's really where these alternative methods and products come into play.
Yeah, they're really helping us, eh?
They really, really are, yeah. And it's really kind of perfecting things. And what I'm excited about now is we started building hydraulic splitters ourselves. And we have now built a set of 6-inch splitters that are 4 feet long and a set of 10-inch splitters that are 5 feet long and big hydraulic units that'll power them. So one hydraulic unit will run up to 6 splitter rods. And then now we're going to build 3.5-inch diameter and 5-inch diameter. So we can do like big benches and things like that. And it'll really open up kind of how the type of jobs that we take on. And we're also building now a 5-inch diameter splitter. It's a giant splitter that goes on a big excavator. So it'll go onto a 215 excavator, and it goes into a 6.5-foot deep hole. And it's got a radio remote control. You can rotate the splitter 270 degrees so you can line up your split with the direction that you want the rock to break. So we're pretty excited about that coming. We should have that on the ground here by early summer, late spring.
That's exciting, eh?
Yeah, it's something that's new to us. Like now we're just moving into excavator mounted drills. So now we have our first drill. We're just getting the controls, mounted and stuff now. So next week we'll probably send it out to the yard. We have a rock yard where we sort and size our boulders and sell them from the rock yard. And we'll take the drill down there. We'll just get used to how the drill drills. But it's all pneumatic, so it'll also run off of a 400 CFM compressor.
Oh, that's exciting.
Yeah.
I think I have projects that would need such machinery here, but no one is innovative enough to create anything like that. So I have ideas, but I know
Yeah.
that to get those ideas, made, it's going to be difficult for me. The resources are going to be more expensive this side.
Yeah.
I will have to partner with someone, and that person would have to take a big stake in whatever idea I will have. So
Well, what kind of jobs are over there? Like, what kind of industries do you service now?
Oh, mostly civil engineering companies. So there's a lot of infrastructure that needs to be done in Africa. I
Okay.
think we'll be working here for the next 1,000 years.
Okay. That's a good thing.
You see, like they have to do drainages, sewer. So every time they need to do that, they meet rock,
Yeah.
and then at some point they can't blast in the areas that they get the rocks. And the
Okay.
residents here are very particular about blasting. They do not like any blasting in their areas.
Yeah.
So in
Here
a way,
too.
that's a that's a good thing for me.
Yeah. A good thing for me too. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what
So
happens
yeah,
as we
it's
go
the
along,
civil
right?
engineering
Yeah.
companies. It's mostly private clients who need to build new houses.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then what about industrial type of jobs? Is there that sort of thing?
Not really.
No.
Because
Eh?
if you get to like maybe if you're saying industrial, you mean mines.
Well, mining is one, but like hydroelectric projects, is there that kind of thing over there? Infrastructure, like for housing, subdivisions, things like that, road
Yeah,
building.
mostly that's what I get.
Yeah.
You find out that there are civil engineering companies servicing a place. So you get in South Africa, you have informal areas, right?
Yeah.
So back in the old days, people will be moved from a section and put in a section which is not serviced. It doesn't
Right.
have
Okay.
sewer, it doesn't have water, no electricity.
Yeah.
So what they do is that they move those people to areas that have been serviced. And most of the
Okay.
time, when they need to service those areas, they need to go deep with the sewer.
Yeah.
They need to go deep with the storm drains. And then they always meet a problem with rocks.
So is the rock kind of sporadic, or is there like some areas have more rock than others?
Some areas have more rocks than others. So you can have a province like Limpopo.
Yeah.
It's mostly soily. And then you
Yeah.
have a province like the Northern Cape, where I was last year. I think that's when we started talking.
Yeah.
It's very rocky.
Okay.
It's super rocky. So there was a company called Light Fiber, which was doing fiber there.
Yeah.
So what they did was that whenever they excavated a specific section to put in their fiber, they would meet big boulders.
Okay.
Yeah, so we had to travel, I think, a distance, a huge amount of distance to break those rocks. They'll be on the side of the road, so we have to travel 2 hours before we can break
Okay.
any rock.
Gotcha. Right.
Yeah, we can travel 3 hours before we break any rock.
So they would just be trenching and they'd dig out the rocks, put them on the side of the trench, and
Exactly.
you drive along and break them as they show up.
Exactly. So there's a national company. Can I call it a national company called Sandra? It's responsible for all the roads and all the highways.
Yeah.
So when you're doing any excavation in a national road, they have to sign it off, and part of their spec, or how can I say, part of their requirements is for you to remove any rubble that you produce whilst you're doing whatever you're doing.
Okay.
So now we have to come through and drill for them. And if we need to get the area signed off, all the rocks have to be out of that area.
So what do they do with the rocks after you split them?
So some farmers were taking them. They were using them to cover most parts of their fences that like cows, like cattle would jump over.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, most of the time. And then sometimes you'd find some people who are doing rock gliding. They want to build with the rocks. Yeah, we would go and give them those rocks.
Yeah. So you just basically split them down small enough, and then your client would truck them. I'm guessing like here, or you would arrange the trucking or leave it to the client.
The client would do the tracking.
Yeah. Okay.
Remember, I was not in my area. It's like it's a province away from mine, so I don't have
Yeah.
any connection when it comes to trucking or TLBs or excavators.
Yeah. What's a TLB?
A front loader.
A loader. Okay, got it.
It's different terminology on your side, right?
It is. That's what I really love about doing the podcast and meeting different people like yourself in other countries. It's just like, well, with Australia, for example, like everybody over there has a saw on their excavator. And here in North America, nobody has a saw. It's very, very rare. And it's
This
just
side
like
as well.
is it? I'm hearing in Australia, like when you get a mini excavator, they don't come with a hydraulic thumb. And here it's like you can't even buy an excavator without a thumb. It's just like, what would you do with it? You can't pick anything up. So
I hear you.
all those little things, right? That's what I find interesting. And it's really nice to talk with people like yourself to kind of build a community of like-minded people and help one another, right?
Okay, so one of my biggest problems here is clients that take time to pay. How do you
Okay.
deal with such clients on your side?
Well, that's always a struggle in construction. You know, I was in demolition my whole life pretty much. And, you know, we had at one time, you know, over like $1 million in receivables. And I spent so much time collecting money. And then I just kind of got away from that. I moved away from doing the demolition in general. And now I just specialize. And what we do to get around that is we try to select, like, if we have smaller jobs, we'll get a credit card. If we work for big companies and it's the smaller job, we'll again get a credit card. If it's a bigger job and we want to extend some credit, we'll get a deposit and then we'll set up a draw periodically, or we'll try to do weekly billing so the bill doesn't get too big. But there's always some of them that just are set in their ways of, I don't pay within 30 days and that's it, take it or leave it. So you always have that decision of like, do I want to work for this person or company, or do I want to just say, hey, this is the way that we bill? And it's a lot of times just the negotiating back and forth, right? I mean, my opinion is you just be open about it and you just say, hey, like, can you do something, pay a little quicker or get something up front? It's not usually a problem, but there is the companies that, you know, if you take on the bigger jobs, there's more money there, there's more steady work, but you wait.
All right.
And once you start
All right,
to work together, you start to build a relationship. They get to understand how you are, you get to understand how they are. And after you've gone through a couple billing cycles, you'll start to see like, hey, these guys don't pay on time. And you know what? Next time I want more upfront. Or they do pay on time and it's no problem. We'll just keep rolling with what we got.
Yeah, I think what I did to protect myself was, in my quotation, I have a very strong note list. So on the notes, I really go deep in it.
Yeah.
I want 80% up front,
Yeah.
or I'm not working with you.
Yeah. And
You
I think
understand? Because we've had instances that we've worked, and then till today, I haven't received a penny of anything that I was owed.
and that ruins it for so many others that are good payers, right?
Yes.
You know, because I mean, everybody can only lose so much money before, you know, you're not in business anymore. It's a fact of life, whether you like it or not.
Yeah, it's true, Starboy.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's what I try to do is just try to be, you know, try to get it in up front. The credit cards, I don't know if you take credit cards or not, but that's been like a godsend for us because it's like most people don't have a problem giving you a credit card. And like I say, even the huge companies, their superintendents typically have a credit card anyway, and they'll just expense it.
Oh, that's a different way of working. I don't think this side there could be anything like that.
No? It's
I know.
how do people
You see,
typically pay
part
now?
of the biggest problem in South Africa is construction companies that don't pay you.
Okay.
I mean, my father was in the construction industry, and till today, I think he has R1 million that's just out there.
Yeah,
That's
that's
just
tough, right?
dead. That's being owed to him.
So how do people typically pay? Like they pay by e-transfer or do they pay by check or what
So
methods do they?
in South Africa, our banking system is really advanced. I've seen a whole lot of people complaining about your banking system and
Okay.
our banking system. Things really happen fast here. So, for example, if I send a client a quotation,
Yeah.
I also send them proof of banking.
Yeah.
They can make a transaction instantly, and then it's in my account.
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
we have that too.
So
It's pretty fast. Yeah. But typically the thing that is that, personally, I don't ever expect people to pay before the work is done. I mean, maybe a deposit or something like that. Or at least if you get a credit card, you have the credit card in your hand. You don't have to run it, but you can have some confidence or some assurance that you have at least that credit card on file. But yeah, so then as far as wiring money or e-transferring money, we have it, call it here. It's pretty fast. So if somebody e-transfers us money, we do the same as you send them your bank account information, and then they send it to your account. It gets deposited to your account.
yeah, I find it much easier if a client pays upfront. So I don't want the whole amount, but at least
Yeah,
80% of the amount. That avoids us having problems in the end. I don't want to hate someone after doing a good job for them.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, and like I say, it's
Yeah.
all just about building relationships. It's working together. It's getting. I mean, you got to look at like, hey, what's this business going to look like 10 years from now, right, or 5 years from now? Like, we're going to look back on it and we're going to go, wow, look, we have so many trucks or so many machines and so many people. It's going to evolve and develop, right? So it's
Yes,
all
it's
those
true.
people that are happy with your service, all those people that you like to work for and keep working for, and those people that are going to keep calling you back, right?
Yeah, it's
That's,
true. We come from very far. It's like when we started, we didn't even have a compressor or rock
yeah,
drills.
us too. Yeah, when I started,
So you
we
understand?
yeah, totally. We started with an electric Hilti drill, and then I go, oh my god, I can't believe it's $250 for a bit, and it burns out like twice a day, and you got to replace it. And then you go, okay, I'm going to get a rock drill, and oh wow, but that's really I can't afford a compressor, so you rent a compressor. Now we have a few compressors, but we still rent compressors because sometimes you need more, sometimes they're getting repaired. But that's just the way you evolve, right?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
true.
Yeah. Sometimes
Because
we'll
now
hire.
we have
Yeah.
our own rock drills, we have our
Yeah.
own hoses, and then we fix our own drill stills.
Perfect.
So we don't wait
That's what
for
we do too,
anyone to do.
Douglas. Yeah.
Yes.
Honestly, that's like we've been slow this last few days. So I've got some of my guys in the shop just doing just exactly that. I had a welder weld up a nice bench for us with a couple of vices on it. And then now I've had the guys tearing the drills apart, and they're going like, we don't know how to do that. We've never done it before. So honestly, I went on YouTube, like, how do you repair a 50-pound rock drill, and went through some videos. I sent my guys the videos, and it's just like, here's a 10-minute video, just watch it. And then the first day was very slow. They struggled. They got through maybe one drill. And then the second day is like, oh, we got 4 drills done today. And then now we got 12 drills done today. But it's learning. It's keeping them busy working. So, they know that you're supporting them, and they've got, income to live with. And it's teaching them and helping them grow with the company, right?
It's gaining a new skill.
Yeah,
I mean, I
it's learning a
started
new
with
skill,
people
yeah.
who didn't know anything about rock drills. They didn't know
Yeah,
anything about hoses. They didn't know anything about safety when it comes to hoses. They'll just
yeah,
plug the hoses on the compressor without the chain.
yeah. Well, it's learning and evolving, and then it's just you grow, right? But
Yeah, it's
no,
true.
that's fantastic. I'm really glad you got a chance to hop on the show, and yeah, I just want to say thanks for joining us today. It was really great to talk with you. And if you have a need for anything that we have or do, feel free to reach out anytime.
Oh, good. It's okay. And thank you for inviting me on your show.
Thanks for joining us. We hope you enjoyed the show. If you would like to be a guest on a future episode and tell us your story, visit our website at www.rockbusters.com. If you have a project and would like to learn more about our products, or if you're interested in partnering with us and becoming a distributor, give us a call. Thanks again. We appreciate your support.